Michael Chandler reveals plans for after Charles Oliveira UFC 309 bout. He still wants Conor McGregor and a title. Michael Chandler has revealed a very ambitious plan for 2025. The schedule includes an eventual bout with Conor McGregor, before a run at becoming the UFC's oldest lightweight champion ever. The number 7 ranked lightweight hasn't fought in the UFC since suffering a defeat to Dustin Poirier at UFC 281 in November 2022. He takes on Charles Oliveira in a 5-round co-main event for UFC 309 at New York's iconic Madison Square Garden. But that's just the start of the fighter's masterplan to create UFC history. The number 7 ranked lightweight hasn't fought in the UFC since suffering a defeat to Dustin Poirier at UFC 281 in November 2022. He takes on Charles Oliveira in a 5-round co-main event for UFC 309 at New York's iconic Madison Square Garden. But that's just the start of the fighter's masterplan to create UFC history. "Let me give you my road real quick, I've already got it mapped out," Chandler said, speaking to Kevin Iole on Friday. Charles Oliveira November 16. "I beat him, and I become the number 1 contender. I'm sitting cage-side watching Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, the current lightweight champion and number 1 contender, the first month or so of 2025. Then we go into Ramadan. I believe Islam beats Tsarukyan. Ramadan means Islam can't be in training camp February, March, won't be able to fight until at least June or July. If Conor McGregor is able to come back, I can fight Conor in March. Then I can fight Islam in June or July, beat him." Chandler was scheduled to make his octagon return in a high-anticipated bout with McGregor at UFC 303 in June. McGregor pulled out of the bout with an injured toe, and the 38-year-old finally moved on from the fantasy fight months after waiting to hear when the Notorious would be ready again. Iron is one of the toughest men to ever grace an octagon and has fought the UFC's best fighters since making his debut in May 2021. After a very successful career at Bellator MMA as a 3-time lightweight champion, Chandler was thrown into the deep end and contested for a title in only his second UFC bout. He was knocked out by Oliveira, the man he faces for the second time at UFC 309, and lost his only opportunity at UFC Gold to date 3 years ago. He then suffered a unanimous decision defeat to Justin Gaethje at UFC 268 6 months later, before knocking out Tony Ferguson in brutal fashion in May 2022. UFC 309 is headlined by Jon Jones vs Stipe Miocic as the former puts his heavyweight belt on the line for the first time. Before Chandler takes on Oliveira, New York City will also see hot prospect Bo Nickel take on Paul Craig in the middleweight division.